audible, right? Fine. So welcome you all for the session 4, right? In the ICT revision sessions that we are organizing from the APIIT Candy Campus. And today, what we are going to focus is it's about the context diagram and the DFD diagram. And I heard that you had a separate session for networking, right? And sessions, and I hope you have cleared all the doubts you had related to your networking modules. So today, as I mentioned, we are going to focus about the context level diagram and the DFD diagram. And when I'm going through your syllabus, I have noticed that usually you are getting a question from this area. Sometimes they have given the scenario and you're supposed to draw your context level diagram and the DFD diagram. And in some papers, I have seen they are giving the context and the DFD diagram. You have to fill out the blanks. So those are the two ways that you are getting questions, right? Let me introduce first what is this DFD or the data flow diagrams. DFD stands for data flow, right? Diagrams, DFD, right? Here by using the DFD diagram, we can understand how the data is processing within a system, right? How data is processing within the system in terms of the given inputs and the outputs that the processors are producing, right? So the name mentioned, data flow, right? We would be able to understand the flow of information within the system and where data comes from and where the data flows and how the data is going to be stored inside the system. So these things are really will be visible by drawing this context and the DFD diagrams, right? And in this DFD diagrams, actually we have many levels, right? And we are going to talk about the level 0, which is known as the context level, and the level 1, that is the DFD level 1, right? Those other two levels that we are going to focus on. If you're going to study towards the computing career, you would be able to learn another type of a level called level 2, right? Another more detailed way about this DFD, right? But in your syllabus, we are having two levels, level 0 and the level 1, right? Level 0 is the context level. We are having a special name for the level 0 DFD, which is known as the context level diagrams, and the level 1 diagrams. Okay, so these two are the things that we are going to discuss today, right? And let me share my screen first. Right, so let me share the screen first. Yeah. Okay, hope it is visible. So children, DFD diagrams and the context level diagrams, in order to draw this diagram, we have set of symbols, right? In ER diagrams also, we know for entities we have rectangles, and to denote the relationships we are using diagrams there, right? Diamond symbols there, right? And to connect the entities and the relationships, we are using lines, and in order to denote the attributes, we are using ovals, right? So like that we have symbols, right? So in DFD diagrams also we have symbols, and here you could see mainly we have two types of symbols, right? Two types in the sense two different authors, see this Gain and Sarson and Jordan and Code, right? These two Gain and Sarson, they invented this particular set of symbols in order to draw the DFD diagrams. And Jordan and Cod, another two different authors, they invented these set of symbols. That's what, right? So you could see Gain and Sarson, this is how we have to denote a process. This is a rounded rectangle, and then this is how we supposed to denote a data store. right? And this is how we have to denote the external entities, and the flow of data we could use, we could denote by using the arrow. An arrowhead defines the direction of the flow. That's the idea, right? And ordinal code, this is how we are representing a process and a data store and the external entity and the data flow, right? And here, what I'm going to use, it's about gain and Sasson, right? Symbols, right? And it's all right. If you're familiar with the ordinal code, you can use the ordinal code, or else if you're familiar with the gain and Sasson, you can go with gain and Sasson. But make sure not to mix up both the symbols, right? You can't take the process from gain and Sasson and the data source from the ordinal code, right? You have to stick into just one particular set of symbols. That's the idea. Okay, so here today I'm going to use this gain and Sasson, right? And this is the very common set of DFD symbols that we are using in the industry, right? So as I mentioned you, by drawing this DFD diagram, we would be able to see how the data are going to process inside the system, right? When we are providing inputs and how they are going to process it, and from where the data are coming inside the system, into the system, and what will happen inside the system, and to where the data is flowing out, and how data is going to be stored inside the computer system. So like that, all these things would be visible once we completed this data flow diagrams. That's the idea, right? And here, as you can see, I'm going to focus on this gain and Sasson symbols, right? Here, this is a process, right? This is how we are denoting a process in gain and Sasson, right? Okay, symbols. Sometimes we can put a line like this as well, right? Here, we can use a line, right? Sorry, right? We can use a line and we can put the number here, and we can write what is the place this process is happening. We can write it like that as well. Both are correct, right? So here, for each and every process, we have to put a number, and this numbers are not going to show the order of the process. No, right? That means process 1 is not maybe the first process. Right, just for your identifications, we are using this number. Normally we are again 1.0, 2.0, like that. And this is the process name we have to define in middle. That's the idea. And data store. Data store means some kind of a data storage which resides in the computer system. Right, so it can be a database table, it can be a file, right, or anything, right? Data store, a place that we are storing a data, right? Because when I'm going through your questions, I have seen they are mentioning table, student register, student details table, right? And like that, different kind of table names are given. Those are data stores. We are storing data, right? And you could see here in the symbol. It should be actually a rectangle, but here we have not closed the rectangle, right? We are just drawing the data store like this, right? You could go with either rounded or like this, right? We are not closing the data store endpoint. The idea behind this is because we can't limit this data store. That means it can be upgraded, it can be grow daily. That's the idea. So we can't limit it by putting a line here, right? It can be grow because let's say this data store is storing student details. Let's say student details. Okay. Then first now this year 1,000 students are available in the school, and the next year another 1,000 will come in. Let's say then 2,000 students, right? The next year another 1,000 will come. Okay, 3,000 students. So like that daily, right, or yearly, maybe monthly, this data store is updating. So it's growing, right? Growing more. So because of that, we are not limiting it. We are not closing it. That's the idea. right? An external entity means some kind of an external party who enters the data or who inputs the data to the system. Yeah, right. I can explain. Yes, Nuhansa. Normally, this 1.0, we are not going to like that now. When we are drawing the DFD diagrams, we might have a lot of processes like this. Normally, right? We have to put 1.0 and 2.0 and 3.0 like that. Normally, like the order, right, these numbers, right, we are not giving because of the order of the process. They're like here sometimes maybe the 1.0 is the first process, and the like when we are going through it, maybe the 3.0 is the second process, right? This number system is not going to denote the order of the process. That is just for the identification. This is process 1, this is process 2, this is process 3, like that. That is just only for the identification. It is not going to give you any kind of an idea about the order of the process, right? If you have something like this, it is not the meaning of, okay, this is the first process. After running this, okay, this is the second process. After running this only, this third process should run. That's not the idea. That is not the order. This number is just representation of the identification. That's it. Okay, I hope you got the answer. An external entity means some kind of an external party, outside party. It can be a person or another system or another department, any kind of an external thing to the system, right? And these external entities can input data, right, and can take output, right, from the system. That's the idea. External entities are the like parties which input the data to the system and will like enjoy the outputs from given by the system. That's the idea. And as I mentioned you, right, data flow, like the arrows would show you what is the like the data flow of the system, right? And arrowhead will guide you, right, the direction, okay, towards this. Okay, this is towards like this data flows from this one to this one, like that, right? So here these are the like 4 symbols like that we are going to use when we are drawing the DFD diagram, right? So these are the basics that we're supposed to know, right? And like when I'm like teaching how to like draw this context level diagram and the DFT diagram, I'm going to give you a few points as well, few hints. And also meanwhile, we're supposed to discuss about the rules. We have rules, right? So we have rules to follow. Like later on, let's see what are the rules. Okay. So here these are the like we discussed, these are the basic like symbols, right, that we are going to use inside the DFD and the context level diagram, right? So these are the basic rules, and we are, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to like focus on the gain and Sasan symbols, right? Not the other one, right? You can use the other one as I told you, Jordan and Cod, you can go with that, but make sure to don't like you can mix these 2 symbols, and you can't make any kind of a mixed kind of a symbols in when we are drawing the DFD diagram. That's the idea, right? So we understood processes are inside the system. Data stores are like what processors actually it takes input and creates some kind of an output. We know that. And data stores are the like places we supposed to store data, and external entities will give the input and enjoy the outputs, and the data flow will show the like from where to where the data are flowing inside the system. That's the idea, right? So these are the like basic kind of a symbols, right? Right, so let's see. As I told you, right, we supposed to learn about 2 types of diagrams. One is the context level diagram, context diagram, right? So this context diagram, we have another name for that. We can call it as a DFD level 0 diagram, right? DFD level 0. Right, context diagram, we have another name for that, DFD level 0 diagram. right? Why we are saying so, right? This context level diagram give you some kind of a bird eye view about the system, right? Some kind of a bird eye view about the system. Let's say if we are like looking from outside the system, right? Let's say we are looking at an ATM machine. Okay, as an example, ATM machine. I hope all of you have used an ATM machine. It's a system, right? Bank is managing ATM machines because like they want to like give the facilities for the customers, like withdrawal, like balance inquiry, and check deposits. Now we have CDM machines as well. That means the cash deposit machines, right? A lot of facilities are there. Now sometimes we can pay our bills as well, right? So let's not like focus on about like a lot of activities. Let's just focus about the money withdrawal process. I'm pretty sure you have like done that, right? So let's say now I'm using an ATM machine, right, to like take money out, and some third party person is observing myself and the ATM machine, right? That's the view of the context diagram. Then that third party person, now let's say you all are watching how I'm taking money by using the ATM. So you can see I'm inserting my card. No, you can see that, right? You can see I'm inserting my card. And then you would be able to say now system gives, okay, to a like prompt what to insert your PIN. So then you can see I'm entering my PIN, right? And then system provides, okay, select the like option that you want. So I'm selecting withdrawal, right? And then ATM shows what is the amount that you need. So then I'm like entering my amount. Then ATM gives my money, right? And after that, at the parallel time, ATM gives my card as well. So like that's the those are the activities that a third party person can observe during my interaction with the ATM machine. So that's the view we are drawing in the context diagram, right? That's why we are taking the system as a one process. The entire system, the ATM machine system, as a one process. That's why we are calling it as a level 0 diagram. Right? So that means context level diagram would give you a bird eye view, some kind of an outsider view. Third party is watching the interaction between the user and the system. Clear? So internal processes, internal data stores, we can't see from this context diagram. So children, you need to understand when you're drawing a context diagram, you have to use only the process. Just one process is there, one, right? And external entities, and the data flows only, right? These three are the things that we are going to use when we are drawing a context diagram. No data stores are involving in the context diagram. If someone has given, okay, data store in the context diagram or the level 0 diagram, that means the diagram is wrong. Clear? So these three are the things, symbols that we are using. We can see the process as a process, just one process is there, no more processes, just one process. One process means the system. So we are considering the system as a like process, just one process. One process is there, external entities would be available, and the data flows would be available. So these three are the like things that we can include within a context level diagram, right? So let's see what is this level 1 DFD diagram. DFD level 1 diagram. Right? So in this case, right, so we have the context level diagram system as a one process, right? In the level 1 diagram, right, DFT level 1 diagram, we are going to like divide the system into sub-processes, right? In the context level diagram, we have just a one system, we have the system as a one process. In the level 1 diagram, what we are going to do is we are going to divide this one process into several processes. we are going to divide the system into several processes, right? So in that case, right, we have processes, many number of processes, and then external entities, and we have data stores as well, and we have data flows as well. Okay, so in the level 1 diagram, right, we have to use many number of processes, not just one, right? Minimum actually 3 processes, right? And external entities, data stores, and the data flows are available, right? So like here, that is the level 1, right? For your understanding, I'll explain the level 2 as well. For your understanding, this is not inside your syllabus. DFD level 2, what we are doing is, we are taking one process from the level 1, just one process, and we are dividing that process into sub-processes. Clear? We are taking one process from the level 1. Here, I told you, like there could be many number of processes, 1, 2, 3. If you want, you can take the second process. We take the second process and divide this process into sub-processes, 2.1, 2.2, maybe 2.3, like that. So this is known as the DFD level 2 diagram, right? So there also we have to include the processes, sub-processes actually. Okay, and external entities we have, sometimes some are not like involving external entities. This is optional, right? And data stores and data flows. This is just for your knowledge, right? So level 2. So in your syllabus, we are going to focus on these 2 diagrams, context and the level 1 diagram, right? So I hope it is clear up to this position. If you have anything, please let me know. Yes, if you have anything, you can direct me. Yeah, hope it is clear. Right. Okay. So let's move on. Right. So by taking this into the consideration, like here we have this and we have this. Right. These are the the 2 types of diagrams and what are the things that we are going to use here, right? So with this, let's take these into consideration and let's do a question, right? I have selected the question which is available in your past paper from 2020 paper, right? So sometimes you may have already tried this, right? So let's see how we can come up with the context level and the level 1 DFD diagram. Okay, so when you're giving this type of questions, this is really easy to score actually, right? This is really easy to score, right? If you know the rules properly, this is really easy to score, right? So when you're like getting some kind of a question like this, right? Like just reading once won't be enough. Right, according to experience, when you're reading, like let's say when you're reading it, the question for the very first time, you won't get anything, right? You have to read it and read it and read it and see what are the things available inside there, right? First scan it actually, first read it, and then when you are reading it in a like detailed manner, underline the like things that you're feeling more important. Right, so we know like in the DFD diagram, we need to understand the processes. We have to think about the like external entities. We have to think about the data flows. We have to think about the data stores as well. right? If you're feeling okay, this is an external entity, please underline it, right? Okay, so let's say now here the 3-stage procedure for handing over a letter for registered post to a post office is as follows. So the like beauty is here, like very easily they have given the 3 stages, right, in the system, right? So this is about what letter registration system, right? So they have given the 3 stages, but like in the university level, like we are just giving the entire situation. They need to understand like what are the like 3 or the like stages inside the system or the processes inside the system. But in this question, clearly they have given 3 different stages in the question, right? Okay, so now it's first says determining postage. All right, so this is the determining postage, right? The customer hands over the letter, right? So I'm feeling like customer is an external entity. Customer hands over the letter to the registration counter, right? And this is about determining postage. The letter is weighed and the postage of the relevant weight is read from a table. Right. The relevant weight, the postage of for the relevant weight is read from the table. The postage is written on the letter by the counter and it is given to the customer. Right. Okay. Again, customer is there. Issuing stamps. The customer hands over the letter with the postage written on the stamps counter with the amount of postage. Stamps for the postage and the letter are issued to the customer with any balance due by the stamps counter. Right. Registering letter. The customer sticks the stamp on the letter and hands over the registration counter. The registration counter accepts the letter, sticks the registered post label with the unique identification code to the letter, keeps the letter and issue a receipt with sender and recipient information with the date and the amount paid to the customer. So in this question, they're asking us to, the first one is context diagram and DFD level 1. Okay, DFD level 1 diagram. Right, so these 2 are the like diagrams that they're asking, right? Okay. Now let's see context level diagram. So then in this case, I told you just one process. One process is the system, right? One process is the system. So I'll take this one to here, because I need to read this meanwhile we are doing this, right? So, okay, fine. So when you're drawing a process according to the Gain and Sarson notation, right? We have to use a rounded rectangle, right? We have to use a rounded rectangle, and you need to excuse me for my lines, right? This should be a rounded rectangle. Right? You know how to draw them, right? And then here this should be closed, and we have to divide it from here, and here normally in the context level diagram we put 0.0. That's the number, or you could just put 0, right? That's the number we are giving for the context level. And then you need to write the system name in the middle of the process, right? If they have given the system name, you have to stick with that particular name which they have given. But here we can't understand any kind of a system name. This is about letter of register, handling over a letter for registered post. So I can say letter registration system, right? So here letter system, right? So you need to put 0, right? And then you need to write the system name, right? So that's done. And we know we need to have an external entity. When I'm reading this, I could only understand outside from the system, only the custom is available. And all these registration count, stamp counter, registration counter, these things are available inside the system, right? So like here, we could understand only the customer as the external entity. So we know how to draw the external entity. You can draw the rectangle and the customer. Right. Okay. Now we have to see what is happening in between this customer or the external entity and this particular system. In first place, it says in the determining postage, the customer hands over the letter to the registration count. All right. That means from customer's side, there's a data flow happening towards the registration system. What the customer gives, the letter. So we could say it's the letter, right? So here that the idea of this arrow is there's a information flow is available, right? You could see an information flow here. It is from customer side to the system. And what is the information flowing? That's the letter, right? So that's the idea. Right, so we know to if you draw some kind of a data flow like this, you have to denote the name of the data flow as well. This is flowing the letter. That's the idea, right? And then yeah, we are getting a question. Yeah, we can put no issue, gives letter, that's of course okay. No, that's okay, right? Or just letter. Then we know, all right, customer gives the letter to the or input letter to the letter registration system. You can put, right, gives letter, no issue, right? And here the idea behind this arrow from customer to letter registration system, that means giving. Okay, input, right? We inputting the things, right? So no need to put the write the giving there. If you have written, that's of course okay. It's not wrong, right? And then the letter is weighed and the postage for the relevant weight is read from the table. All right. Now within the system, letter is going to weigh and the relevant postage fee is going to read by some kind of a table. Now we are on the context diagram. No, this is the context diagram. Context. I told you context diagram, it's about something like a third party view. Third party person cannot see what is happening inside the system. They don't know, right? Once we submitted the letter, inside functionality is not visible in the context diagram, right? So we are not bothering about those things then within the context diagram. Right, so we don't know what is happening inside. The postage is written on the letter. All right, postage is written on the letter by the counter and it is given to the customer. All right, so now, right, the system will give back some kind of an output to the customer. Letter, we could say letter, right, letter plus postage details or postage. Right, see, it says something like that. Letter, you could plus here, you could add plus, or you could say letter and postage, like that, right? Postage, you could say details, right? So now the system returns, right? A third party person can see only this. Our system is returning the letter plus postage details. Done, good. Right, so now that part is over. Issuing stamps. The customer hands over the letter with the postage written on it to the stamps counter with the amount of the postage. All right. So then customer again gives back something to the system. What is that? Letter, right? Letter, right? And we could say and the amount. So on top of the letter, they have written the postage. You can mention either like letter which has mentioned the postage details and amount, right? So shall I do it like that? So let's put it like that, right? So we can say letter with postage details and amount. Okay, right. And then yeah, stamps for the postage and the letter are issued to the customer with any balance due by the stamps counter. Okay, so again this system gives some kind of an output. What is that? Right? Letter, comma, stamps, and balance amount. It says like that, balance amount, right? Letter, comma, stamps, and balance amount. System gives it back. And then the customer sticks the stamps on the letter and hands over to the registration counter. All right. Again, right, here the customer will give, right, okay, customer will give a letter with pasted stamps. Okay, and then the registration counter accepts the letter, sticks the registered post, which is happening inside, right? Label with a unique identification code to the letter, keeps the letter, issue a receipt with sender and recipient information with the date and the amount paid to the customer, right? So here it is going to, this system is going to issue a letter, right? Here, like my arrows are very bad, right? So here it is going to issue a, like something from the system. That means the receipt, no? Yeah. Receipt with sender details, sender and receiver details, comma, and date, amount paid, date and paid amount, right? So you can say receipt with sender, receiver details, date and amount paid, details. Okay, so that's what. No, yes, it's wrong, right? So here, like it is not actually a wrong, right? You would get half marks here if you just write receipt. Okay, so here you need to say receipt with what? You have to show what type of information flowing here and there. Receipt with sender, recipient information, and date and amount paid details, right? So we have to mention that. Receipt with sender and receiver date, and if they have not given, if they have just given receipt, then that's fine. Okay, just receipt, right? So we need to understand from the system itself, it will give the data to the customer about the sender and receiver details and the date and amount paid details. That's the idea, right? So this is the context level diagram. When you're drawing it, draw it nicely. In my case, please, you have to excuse me for my lines. Okay, so that's it. If you can, if you have seen this diagram very carefully, we have, this is a one input, see, one input, and this one is the other one, and output, input, output, output. Altogether, how many arrows we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 data flows are there, right? From customer to, or from external entity to the system, right? 6 data flows are there. And you would see, this is a context diagram. We have only the external entity, we have only the process, and we have only the data flows. No data flows available. That's the idea, right? So children, is it clear on this? Is it clear? Any questions that you want to ask? Please go ahead. Anything that you want to ask? Right. So I hope it is clear for you. And let's move for the DFD level 1. 0, 1. Right? And I told you what we are going to do is, we are going to divide this system into sub-processes. And according to your question, clearly we would be able to understand or identify there are 3 different processes. We have one process, that is the determining postage process. This is a one process. And there's another process called issuing stamp process. And there's another one called registering letter process. right? So here you could see 3 different processors are available within this particular system. Here we can't see those processors, right? Within this system, there are 3 different processors, right? So let's try to draw them, right? So now we have just one external entity. See, customer, only the customer is there, right? So I'm drawing the external entity, that is the customer, right? And the first process, right? First process, we need to use the rounded rectangle like this, right? And we have to divide this. And I told you, you can divide it like this. And this is 1.0. In here, if they have mentioned any place where, which is this process is happening, you can write the place name. This process is determining postage. So I could say determining postage. That's the process name. And where it is happening? In the registration count, right? So here I can write registration. Then we would be able to understand what is the place it is happening. Counter, right? Registration counter, right? See, determining postage. What is the place it is happening within the registration counter? That's the idea. Yeah. So this is the first process that I can understood, that I can identify from the given scenario. So that's why I have put 1.0 there, right? I mean, see, normally we go step by step here, right? Step by step means in the question, when we are reading, we are identifying the processes. So that's the very first process that I got. Okay. So here, actually, because of that, I have given 1.0. Is it clear? You can start from that, right? And I told you this is always, this is not denoting the order. Sometimes, yes, it is the order, but always it is not denoting the order. That is just for identification purpose, right? Okay, always it is not going to denote the order. But in this case, yes, that is the order. But always that's not the order, right? So don't rely on the numbers, right? Just put, okay, 1.0, right? And then it says, the customer hands over the letter to the registration counter. So we know that because we understood. See, letter, right? So here, customer will give the letter, right? And then you have to check, right? Here, whatever the things you have written here, it's just letter. Okay, letter should be there, right? Done. So that input is correct, right? And then it says, the letter is weighed, and the postage for the relevant weight is read from a table. Right. So now once the customer has handed over the letter to the process, right? This process should weigh the letter, and then they have to read the postage value according to the weight from a table. So there should be a data store then, right? It's a table. They're mentioning a table. They have not given a proper name. So you can go with any name that you like, but it should be meaningful to the given scenario. So I can write postage details. See, that's my data store name, postage details, right? And reading, we need to read it, right? Read it means this process needs to read. See, read means, see, this process need to read, reading the data, right? What data? Postage data. Details. You can say postage details are reading from the data store. That's the idea. Children, just let me know. Here, tell me if you have something like this. Let's say data store, right? And if we have an arrow like this, this is reading. And if we, sorry, right? Reading means that this is not the arrow, right? Yeah. Reading means what? This is the arrow. Reading, reading out. This is what? This is write, right? And this is what? Read. Sorry for this, right? Okay. So this is reading, right? From the data store, we are taking out data. What data? Postage details. That means If you are taking out something from the data store, that is known as a read. If you are giving something back to the data store, that is known as write. You are writing data. In some cases, we are supposed to write data, right? So here what we are doing, we are reading. So what we are reading? Postage details, right? And then it says, I'll clear this, right? So now you know what is read and write, right? Here, yes, it says the letter is where, right? Okay, the postage is written on the letter by the counter and it is given to the customer. All right, so those are manual steps, right? And written on the letter and it is going to give back to the customer. So this is that, no, where is, yes, this one, letter and postage details, this arrow, right? So we have to write the exact thing. So here, sorry. So here, the system will return the letter and postage details. Done, right? So that means we have completed this process. This is okay now. That's it, right? We can move to the next one, issuing stamps. Okay, so I'm going to have it as the identification number as 2.1. Right? So here, sorry, 2.0, right? And this is issuing stamps. Okay, and which counter this is happening? Stamps counter. So I can put stamps counter. Okay, right? So what is happening? Let's say the customer hands over the letter with the postage written on the stamps counter. Okay, go to the context diagram. All right, here this is the arrow. Letter with postage and amount details. Right, postage details and amount. Letter with postage details and amount. Right. So here now customer will give back to this particular process. Right. Here in the context diagram, right, it's just a one thing, right? So but here we have a separate process for that. So here we need to mention that letter with postage details and amount. Okay, and then what it does, yeah, stamps for the postage and the letter are issued to the customer with any balance of due by the stamps counter. So let's look at that arrow on this one. Letter, comma, stamps and balance amount. So the process, right? Process will give some kind of an output to back to the external entity. What is that? Letter, stamps and amount, balance amount. Okay, right? Balance amount. And then that process also, okay, done. Then I have another process, registering letter, right? So if you don't have any room here, you can go for here as well, no issue, right? No issue on that, right? So here you can go 3.0 and here registering letter. And it is happening on the registration counter, right? So customer will give the letter back, no? So letter with pasted stamps, yes, right? So here customer will provide letter with pasted stamps, right? And then it says the customer sticks the register's post label with the unique identification code to the letter, keeps the letter and issues the receipt with sender, right? So now they are going to give a unique identification code to the letter, right? And these details should be stored, because they are giving, because they need to have some kind of a like proof, right? So then I would like to introduce a data store for this, right? So I would like to introduce a data store for this. Now the previous data for was like data like store here. It was like D1. So because of that, I'm going to go with D2, right? And then I am going to like give the name like register letter details, right? So we can write the data. What type of data we have to write? We can write the unique ID and letter details to this particular file, this particular folder, right? And once we done that one, the system should give back what? Receipt with sender receiver details, date and paid amount details, right? So here we could say the process will give back letter, sorry, not the letter, receipt with the sender, I'm just writing, receiver, date and amount details. So that's it, right? And now look at this, customer and processors, right? How many lines? Letter, this is the first line, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So here we have 6 different lines, right? 6 different data flows. So this 6 data flows should be tally with this 6 data flows, right? So if you have data flows like 10 different data flows in context diagram, you need to have 10 flows in between the external entities and the what? Processors. Otherwise, your diagram is wrong. That's the idea, right? So here, by combining the first process, second process, and third process, if we combine them together, we would get this particular system. That's the idea. So this is the context level diagram, and this is the DFD level 1 diagram, right? So is it clear for you children? Any questions, like anything you want to clarify? Very easy questions, like to be scored. Yeah, anything that you want to know? Yes, is it clear? Right, read and understand. Like when you're giving when you're getting some kind of a scenario like this, you have to read it and understand. Okay, this is an external entity, external, something external to the system, and these are inside things, inside functionalities within the system. And if it is a table, all right, this is the data store. And if here like only the thing that we supposed to understand, we need to go with a like data store, the unique identification code. We have to store them. In case if someone maybe I have posted a letter and it has not received yet, then I have to go to the post office and ask. So they need to have a record on that, registered letter details. So simply they can refer this file and tell, okay, you have posted this letter on this date to this particular receiver, like that, right? So this is the ID. So there should be some kind of a mechanism to track the posted letters. That's the idea, right? So any questions? Is it clear? Yeah. Anything that you want to know? More? Okay, so I hope like it is clear for you. Right. Okay. So let's move on. The other question I have taken from the 2019 paper, right? Yeah. Here, the second type of a question, like they are giving the context diagram and the DFT diagram. We supposed to fill the blanks, right? So here you could see these are different types of notations, right? Like these things also using, but commonly we have like standard type of DFT notations, right? So we move with those notations actually. Here this is about blood testing center, right? Has the following activities. It's about a blood testing system now, right? We could see we have just one external entity, that is the patient. There could be many number of external entities, but just one process. Okay, so let's see what it says. The patient hands over the test request slip to the receiving counter, right? Okay, patient is there, we understood that. Hands over the test request slip to the receiving counter. Receiving counter issues an invoice, right, to the patient and sends a copy to the cashier. Okay, sends a copy to the cashier. Okay, we can't see that because it is not to the patient, right? It is internal happening. The patient checks the invoice, approves it, and hands it over to the cashier with the payment, right? So here the patient checks the invoice, approves it, and hand it over to the cashier with the payment, right? So here you could see approved invoice plus payment. See, approved invoice. Cashier issues a receipt to the patient and also sends a copy for the receipt to the laboratory. It's handling from the inside, right? So cashier issues, like this person issues a receipt, CR, issuing receipt, right? And then like sends another copy or another like copy of the receipt to the laboratory. Patients hands off the receipt to the laboratory, right? Receipt to the laboratory. See, right? Yeah, let's find, right? The laboratory verifies the patients and conducts the blood test and returns the updated receipt marked as done to the patient. See, I can see receipt and then updated receipt, right? This one, see, updated receipt. The laboratory sends the report to the receiving counter, right? Later, the patient hands over the updated receipt to the receiving counter, and receiving counter hands over the report to the patient with the re-updated receipt marked as issue, right? So these are the things. The context diagram for the above activities with missing data flows PQRS and T is given in figure 1 below. So we supposed to identify what are the things that simply this PQRS and T, right? So here let's read it again and see, right? So P, right? The patient hands over the test request slip. Okay, see, P is what? Test request slip, right? So here we could write test request slip. Okay, and we have Q, right? After this we have Q. Okay, receiving counter issues an invoice. All right, so Q is what? Invoice, right? And then Q. Okay, then it says invoice to the patient and sends a copy of the to the cashier. We don't know, it's some kind of an internal thing. The patient checks the invoice, approves it, and hands it over to the cashier with the payment. So we have that approved invoice plus payment. So we're supposed to find what is R, right? Cashier issued a receipt to the patient and also sends a copy of the receipt to the laboratory. So this should be a receipt then. Okay, and then we have like, so it is receipt. So here patient gives another receipt. So let's say patient hands over the receipt, that is this, right? And the laboratory verifies the patient and conducts the blood and test and returns the updated receipt marked as done to the patient. So here updated receipt. Okay, we are good with that. We need to find the S, right? Now the updated receipt is with the patient. The laboratory sends the report to the receiving counter. Later, the patient hands over the updated receipt. So it should be, again, we have to give the updated receipt. Updated receipt. Right. To the receiving counter, and receiving counter hands over the report to the patient with the re-updated receipt marked as issued. So what is T? T should be two things. One is the report, the blood report, and re-updated receipt. Re-updated receipt. Right? So that's it. Right? So everything is available in this particular scenario. What you have to do is you have to clearly figure them out. Right? So then it is like a really easy thing to like cope up with. Right? So here, use the exact terms that they have given. Then it's really easy. Right? So children, any questions here? Like anything? Is it clear how to like come up with these things? Yeah, anything, any questions? No? Okay, right. And the next one, right. So the continuation, right? We need to have the question as well. Let's take the question. Level 1 of the DFD for the above context diagram is shown in figure 2, right? So now they have like divided the things, right, into 3 processes, and we can see the patient. We understood what is this PUQ, PQR, sorry, STR, yes, those things we understood, right? And write a suitable term to replace the label W. We need to find out what is this process, and then identify and write down the missing data flow labeled in X. We need to understand this. X. Patient second process. Yes, X. Let's see. So we need to have the like what the question. I don't have the question with me there. So we have, let's take the question. Yeah. Yes. Children, can you find out what is this W? What is this W process? Yeah. What is this W process? Can you understand? Process blood test request process is there. We need to have another one. What is the W process? Second process that they have taken out. And this, the third one is process report. So here the process blood test request. See, the patient checks the invoice, the counter receives the invoice, the patient, and sends a copy of to the cashier. The patient checks the invoice, approves it, and hand it over to the cashier with the payment. Cashier issues a receipt to the patient and also send a copy of the receipt to the laboratory. So here, this is the process of giving report. This is the process of blood test. So can't we put W as the payment process? Yeah, payment process, because it handles the payment part, right? And then we need to understand what is X. Yeah, what is X? Yeah, you can simply use the chat and send me the answer. What is X? This one. Yeah, any idea? Just check P is there. P is test request list, and Q is the invoice, right? And S is the updated receipt. Okay, and then Here it says like send it to the T report, send it to the cashier back, like that, it's there. And R is the receipt, right? Receipt given by the what for after the payment, right? So what is this? See, R is the receipt given by the after the payment, right? R is the receipt. So before that, patient should give what? X should be what? It says in order to make the payment, they have to do what? See, invoice approves and it hands it over to the cashier with the payment. So we can say X is the approved invoice and payment. Okay, right? So is it clear? So just study the two diagrams, the context diagram and the things that you have found. Then it is easy to understand what is missing. Right. So any questions? Yeah. Seems like these are like okay for you, no? Right. So let's discuss few rules. I told you like now again like when you're drawing these like you have to tally these now like inputs and outputs and level 1 diagram inputs and outputs. If you have 6, you need to have 6 here, right? Like that. Okay, that's how you can check, cross check the things the like whether you have done it correctly, right? Rules, right? We have rules. I told you we have few rules to follow, right? Rules could be like this, right? Rules. If we have external entities, right? Let's say we have an external entity like this, and we have an external entity like this, external entity 1 and 2. We cannot have any data flows in between the external entities. This is wrong, right? That means no data flows between two external entities. Can't do. Okay, right? So this is wrong, right? If you're drawing something like this in the DFT diagram, so it is wrong, right? No data flows in between two external entities, right? That's the like one rule, like a place that most of the students are going wrong, right? They have mentioned like two entities and they have drawn a data flow. It's wrong, really wrong, right? And also in between the external entity and a data store. Data store. This is wrong. No data flow, right? So here again we could say no data flow in between an external entity and a data store. No data flow. It's wrong, right? You can't draw something like this. This is wrong, right? And see, right? External entity to external entity, no data flow, and also like from external entity to a data store, no. And also this way also wrong, huh? No. And this way also wrong. No, can't. We can't go. We can't do like that, right? Both ways, right? We don't have any data flows. It's wrong, right? And then here, process, right? And process data flow, process to process data flow. What do you think? can have, or what? Is it like prohibited? What? Process to process? What do you think? Can or can't? Can you like flow data in between processes? Yes, children, any idea? Can you flow like data in between processes? Yes, we can, right? According to this example also you can see, and it says, receiving counter issues an invoice to the patient and sends a copy to the cashier, sends a copy to the like payment process, right? So here, process to process data flow can done, no issue, right? And then in between two data stores, sending in or sending out, this is wrong, right? Okay, in between two data stores, sending in and sending out, this is wrong. Clear? And we know when we are drawing the like DFD diagrams, right? Process, in between the process and a data store, read and write, no issue, these are okay, right? Read and write, okay, fine, right? And the other one, external entity and a process, I'm just drawing, this is of course okay, right? So these are the rules that we supposed to, right, that we supposed to understand, right? So see, no data flow between two external entities, we can't do something like that. No data flows in between the external entity and a data store, right? If we want to send something to the data store, external entity should go through a process, that's the idea, right? And here look at this, in between processes, okay, no issue. In between data stores, no, can't, right? In between the process and a data store, yes, can. And then in between an external entity and a data store, yes, you can have a data flow. That's the idea, right? So that's it about the like context and the DFD diagrams. I have seen a question here in look at this in 2018. Yeah, now you can tell me. Identify and explain the fundamental error in the following DFD diagram. Yeah, please identify it and please let me know. Identify and explain the fundamental error in the following data flow diagram. We have an error here. What is that error? Yes, use the chat. Fundamental error. That means against for the rules. Yes, children, please use the chat. What is the error that you can understand, identify from here? Yes, can't you identify any error here? Yes, children, why you are not answering today? Like, yes. All right, okay. today I didn't get any notification. That's what, some problem. Okay, right. So you have given me the answers. Sorry for that. Yes. Data store to data store, like data flow. Yes. Yeah, very good. Just now I'm very sorry, right? Yeah. Just now I'm getting the questions, the chat, right? I'm very sorry. I didn't get the notification, right? I don't know why. So let me check the question. Sorry. Okay, first let's see the answers. Yes, you are correct, right? Data store to data store, right? So here we cannot look at this one. See, this is allowance and deductions data store, and we have salary data store. So here we can't have any data flow. So you have to write in the DFT diagram, there cannot be any data flow in between two data stores. In this example, in this question, allowance and deductions also a data store and salary also a data store. So they have a data flow in between them. So this is a fundamental error. That's how you have to write. Right. So I'm really sorry, children. I didn't get the notification. So let me check the questions now. Yeah, let's say. There is no any way to connect external entities here. We can't do that. We can't connect external entities. That's the idea, right? So when you're learning further, if you learn further, from the stream of computer science, you will learn we can duplicate the external entities and the data stores, but we can't connect, no data flows, no, not even from the dotted lines, right? Right. And yeah, re-updated receipt, since it is already mentioned above the data. Yes, we have to mention re-updated receipt, right? Okay. And then yeah, how to understand? So most of the time, children, most of the time, if it is a data store, they are giving whether they are storing inside a table or something like that, right? Here they have not mentioned anything, no? In this case, no, right? So we can understand here it is issuing invoices, right? So then we would like to have something to store. I'll take this one. Right here, they have mentioned it's a table. See, where is reading from a table. So there should be a data store by including all the postage values related to each and every weight. Right, so there should be a table. That means it's a file. And here I am using a table for this, not a data store for this, because we need to have some kind of a proof that we have posted this data. If customer is coming and asking, okay, I have posted a data on letter on this particular date, so still that letter has not received by the receiver. So could you please check on that? If someone asks like that, we need to have some kind of a database, some kind of a file to see what are the posted letters. So definitely we need to have a file for that, right? So that's why I have incorporated here this data store. What is that? Registration letter details. So once I am issuing the receipt and all, I am writing the unique ID and the details of the letter to this particular file. That's the idea. So you better always think like that, okay? And right. Cash register for issuing stamps, here you not the cash register thing, right? You can have here some kind of a payment details if you want. I'll draw it from it's not wrong, right? Another thing, D3 payment details, right? So then here you can write the amount to this one, and then you can see, right? See here, normally we are not issuing a receipt to anything, right? So because of that, this is optional. This is optional, right? Because we are not issuing anything back. We are not issuing a receipt. We are just issuing the what stamps and the balance amount. That's it, right? So because of that, This is optional. If they are saying, okay, though you are issuing a receipt and all, definitely we have to keep our things. Then it's good to go with the payment details file. That's the idea. Okay, let me check. In the data flow registration counter, okay, we have the registration counter process to postage details. Like, I think you're talking about this. Nuhansa, is this question related to this? Right. So now you are clear, no? We have to take the details. Is it clear? Right? Yeah. Right. So we need to read items. So here, children, remember, like cash register thing. I like that idea. Right? If the this is an optional, you can include it. It is not wrong, right? But here, you can assure if you are issuing some kind of a receipt for the payment that the people has done. Normally, like in the practical situation also, when we are buying some kind of a stamps, they are not issuing a receipt for us, no? They are just taking money and giving it back. That's it. They're giving the balance and the stamps. So if they are issuing a receipt, definitely go for a some kind of a receipt. That's the idea. Okay, and the data too. Right. So any other questions? Today I'm not getting the chat. That's what notifications. Some problem. Yeah. Anything? So I would say this is a really easy question that you you can take or you can score more marks, right? And if you're planning to continue your studies from computer science area, you would get more very complex scenarios than this, right? Normally within this is a subject from in the third semester, that means the second year first semester. So normally we are getting the scenario like 1.5 pages, right? So from there we need to understand what are the processes, many number of external entities and data ins, data outflows, and lot of data stores, right? And they are asking us to perform context level 1 and level 2 as well. So it's a 1.5 page of scenario, and then we have to figure them out. Okay, that's the idea. Right. So any questions from today's lesson? That's all about the context and the DFT diagrams. Any questions? Yeah. Anything you want to know? Is it clear now, whatever the confusions you had regarding the context level and the DFT diagrams? Remember the rules, huh? Remember the rules. Those are really important. Yes. So, right. So next week, what do you need? Just let me know. What is the topic that you need to do on next week? Yes, again, I'm not getting chat. Yeah. Yeah, any topic that you diagrams in 13th lesson. Okay, right. In IoT diagrams. Okay, fine. IoT, no? Right. So I'll like arrange a session for IoT. I'm not the best person to do these IoT sessions, right? I'll arrange a session. I'll like ask the other lecturer to conduct a session in IoT, right? Okay, diagrams in IoT. Right, fine. Okay, I'll note down. Any other things? Or that's all? Right. Okay. Operating systems, no? Right. Virtual memory and the paging. Yes, let's do. Right. Virtual memory and paging. This is about the operating systems. Fine. Okay. So then next week I'll focus on this virtual memory and the paging. Let's do a session on that. Right. And if you have any further questions related to the context diagram and the DFD, please direct your questions to me, right? And I have given my email addresses as well, right? So again, I'm posting my email address, right? You can use this, and then you can send me the whatever the questions that you have, right, related to this context level and the DFD diagrams. Right. Okay. So then next week, let's do this virtual memory and the paging, and I'll arrange a session, separate session for the IoT diagrams as well. Right. Okay. So if you don't have any questions, we can wind up the session for today.